Hey there guys, and welcome back to Dino Reacts. Let's talk Resident Evil Retribution. Resident Evil Retribution was released in 2012, and once again we are following Alice as she's taking down the Umbrella Corporation. This movie, it does of course have the return of Milla Jovovich, but also a huge cast from previous movies, including Sienna Guillory and Michelle Rodriguez. I will say guys, I actually had a blast with this movie. I completely went into this one expecting to hate it. I was not a fan of Resident Evil Afterlife. I really hated where the series was going. I hated the CGI and the overuse of certain elements from the games. But I gotta say, when I watched this one, although yes, I did roll my eyes throughout the entire film, there's something about this movie that is appealing, that you do start to enjoy it after a while. It is the definition of a popcorn flick. This movie, it is absolutely dumb, it's over the top, and it makes no sense, but that's what I enjoyed about the movie. There's a lot going on in this one. The BOWs were brilliant in the movie. The set pieces and the action pieces are by far the best in the entire series, and I also love the return of old characters, fan favorites and villains from our earlier movies. So the movie picks up just like every other Resident Evil film, where they throw the plot of the last one out the window and kind of just start over. Alice herself, she wakes up in a facility in Russia controlled by the Umbrella Corporation. Now she of course does not know where she is. It's kind of like a training facility and a testing facility for the company. For me, right out of the gate, you watch this movie and you wonder how the hell Umbrella had that money to build such an elaborate building, but as well as that, you're wondering how they're still doing it when the world has been taken over by zombies. And that's what you have to do in this movie. You kind of have to turn your brain off. There were multiple times in this movie where I constantly rolled my eyes. I hated what was happening on screen, but I very quickly got used to it and just had fun with it. Watching this movie, you almost feel like the filmmakers knew how bad these movies were. They knew they weren't going to get good reviews, and they just tried to go all in with it. This movie is by far the most over the top, but at the same time, what I liked about it was the CGI was much better than that last film. The story itself actually wasn't too bad, and the action set pieces were the best I'd seen in the entire series. But Alice is being kept in this facility, and sooner rather than later it gets breached by Ada Wong from the game series, who we find out is teaming up with Wesker to take down Umbrella, and now they also need Alice's help. Before we know it, we get a whole slew of returning characters, including Jill Valentine and Carlos Olivier, who have now become the villains in this story. We also get Rain from the first movie and some members of the original team from that first film. At the same time, we get Luther from the last movie, who I actually really enjoyed a lot more in this one. We also get new additions with Leon Kennedy and Barry Burton, and just like the last movies, they are nothing like their computer game characters. Honestly, when I watch Resident Evil movies, you do kind of have to just detach yourself from the games. Yes, they have the exact same names as those characters, but honestly, they're never like the characters at all. And once I did that, I enjoyed it a lot more. Barry Burton in particular, I liked him in this movie. I thought he was quite funny. He was in some of the better action scenes as well. As far as Leon Kennedy goes, again, he looked nothing like the character. He didn't really act like him either. I wasn't a huge fan of him. I do think he was just there again for the game series, even though he was meant to have been killed off in Resident Evil Apocalypse. But as I said, the CGI is dramatically improved in this one. We are in these kind of big scale cities like New York and Tokyo. We are in Russia, so it has this kind of worldwide view to it, and every set piece works really well, including that the BOWs are some of my favorite BOWs in the entire series. We do kind of get everything just thrown at the wall in this one for sure, but by this time in the series I had kind of gotten used to that and I was okay with it. Once again, we get the Las Plagas from Resident Evil 4. They kind of introduce that plot element. They do explain it a little bit more in this movie, and I appreciate that, although still it makes no sense. Even the BOWs were highly improved in this movie. The CGI on the Licker in particular, so the Licker was in the original movie, and we get that big giant Licker again in this one. He was one of my favourite parts of the entire movie, just because he looked incredibly cool. He reminded me of that first movie, of course, but it was just brilliant to see him and Alice battle it out again. We also get the Executioner making his return in this one, and Ada Wong and Alice take him on. Again, that was a great action set piece. Just like the last movie, there are a few slow-mo scenes in this one, but there's actually not too much. And maybe that's what I liked about it a lot more, that we weren't constantly getting Matrix-like scenes for absolutely no reason. I also like the suburban setting at the start of the movie. I thought that was quite cool to see just Alice in a completely different light, and it was actually quite a scary sequence. Most of this movie, it is in no way scary, but that kind of opening in the suburban neighborhood was one of the highlights, just because it gave us that horror element of Resident Evil. Of course, if you watch the series, you do notice as the movies go on, they get less and less scary. Action definitely takes over, and in this one it is nothing but action. It is over the top. Alice, of course, once again just gets her powers back because that's what the plot needed. Wesker taking Alice's side was also an interesting twist for the series to take. I did enjoy that, and it was fun to see certain characters come back from the original movie and the second and third one and take on more villainous roles. Jill Valentine in particular, I'm not a huge fan of that plot point from Resident Evil 5, but I did like seeing it in the movie. Of course, her costume looked absolutely ridiculous, and that was the same for Ada Wong. I've always asked in the series, why is Ada Wong wearing a cocktail dress, and in this one it makes less sense than the game. But as I said, there are so many things in this movie that I can give out about. None of it makes sense. It is quite elaborate, it's quite silly. Characters make absolutely stupid decisions at times, but while that's all going on, we have great action pieces, we have absolutely brilliant CGI, and we get so much Resident Evil BOWs thrown at us on screen. So I do really enjoy this one, guys. Compared to the last one, this one just makes sense. If I missed this one, I would have regretted it, whereas with Afterlife, it was just more of a padding filler movie that really didn't go anywhere. Even in this one, they do throw the entire plot point of Resident Evil Afterlife out the window. Everything that was happening with Alice and Wesker is suddenly forgotten, and they're teaming up. So for me, guys, this is definitely one of my favorite entries in the series. I will say, guys, when I started this movie, I did not think I was going to say that. I rolled my eyes continuously for the first 15 minutes of the movie, and I really wasn't looking forward to watching it. Quickly though, I just let things go, and I enjoyed what was happening on screen, and it's actually now probably my second or third favorite in the entire franchise. But guys, let me know what you think of the movie. Is it one of your favorites in the franchise, or do you absolutely hate it? Are you like me, and did you just enjoy the absolute campy silliness of the movie? Let me know, guys, down in the comments. As always, if you can, guys, subscribe to the channel, give the video a big thumbs up, and until next time, Heidi ho.